Hey everyone, it's Josh on Blockchain DXB and today is the 29th of September 2022 and the global cryptocurrency market is not looking good at all. Now historically, September hasn't been the best month for Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, but hoping that the last quarter of 2022 is positive for Bitcoin and the global cryptocurrency market. One reason why I do feel that the last quarter will be good for the cryptocurrency market is simply because of the midterm elections which takes place in US on the 8th of November. So the left-leaning Biden administration will try to ensure that the global cryptocurrency market is relatively better than its previous months. Now, as of today, the global cryptocurrency market is down to $941 billion. So in today's episode, we're very briefly going to talk about what is going on with stablecoins. And today we'll also be discussing a war which is going on stablecoins. And is central bank digital currency going to be a threat to stablecoins? So in today's episode, it's going to be mostly about stablecoins. And what is it that you guys think when it comes to stablecoins? Who wins the war on stablecoins? Will it be Tether USDT? Will it be Binance's BUSD? And will it be Circle's USDC? Now remember guys, next month I do have an event called the Central Bank Digital Currencies where I explain the basics of central bank digital currencies. I explain the threats it has to freedom. And I also discuss its use case in the metaverse. And in yesterday's episode, I also talked about Jerome Powell, who was virtually present at an event that talks about digitization of finance. And he spoke about 4 things when it comes to CBDCs. So we'll once again revisit that. And in today's episode, I'm also going to be talking about Kevin O'Leary, who's from Canada, but he is also a UAE national. And he is planning to launch a fund, and most of the funds are going to be backed by UAE investors. And finally, we're also going to be talking about Crypto.com. Now look, 2022 is definitely, if not one of the best years for Crypto.com, and they have received regulatory approval from France, so we'll be exploring that in today's episode. And regarding UAE, I have 2 news, and both the news are relatively positive. The first one is about CNBC's Arabia. They are planning to have a 15-minute episode airing every Tuesdays, and it is called as On the Chain. So we'll be exploring that in today's episode. And the second news is about chain analysis, and they are an expert so far as forensic investigation on cryptocurrencies and blockchain is concerned. Now they are going to be having an event at GITEX Global, so I'll be exploring that in today's episode. So welcome everyone, it's 18 here in Dubai and you're listening to Crypto and Coffee at 8, where we cover top news and information pertaining to Bitcoin, blockchain, beyond blockchain, cryptocurrencies, NFTs, DeFi and Metaverse. And how the series of episodes on the Crypto and Coffee at 8 works is, we usually cover some top news and information pertaining to the browser cryptocurrencies, some major breaking news, occasionally short and sweet news as well. News that has an impact in the cryptocurrency world. The other 2 news and information is related to Dubai, UAE and Middle East and the world of Bitcoin, blockchain, beyond blockchain, cryptocurrencies, NFTs, DeFi and Metaverse. And this is followed by Ask Me Anything series where you listeners can ask any questions from the cryptocurrency world. And remember guys, every Fridays I have an episode called Metaverse Everything. And this week in Dubai, the whole news is about Metaverse. The entire city is talking about Metaverse. So in tomorrow's episode, I'll be covering quite a lot of news regarding an event that was currently taking place in Dubai on the 28th and the 29th of this month. So please check out the episode that I'm going to be releasing tomorrow. And the format for the Metaverse Everything podcast is completely different. And what I also tend to do is I tend to publish a daily and weekly report via my LinkedIn profile. So guys, please follow me on LinkedIn. My LinkedIn profile is in the show notes below. Now before we kickstart today's episode, I have an important message, so check this out. Firstly guys, Startup OI is global one tech platform for tech. It offers global high-paying tech jobs with flexibility in working time and location, global free tech events, and tech networks to connect with global like-minded engineers. A brilliant platform to listen to the tech experts in Metaverse and to grab their insights. Now listen, all you have to do is download the app Startup OI. If you're using an Android version, go to Google Store and App Store for iOS devices. Alternatively, you can also click on the show notes below to download Startup OI. Next, guys, listen, if you're into fitness, if you're into adventure, if you want to do something wild but still want to keep your health in check, there is a new podcast in town, a podcast focusing on obstacle course race in the Middle East. The podcast is called Rise in the Obstacle Course Race, and Rise in the Obstacle Course Race podcast is a peer-to-peer community-driven podcast where they talk all about obstacle course race in the Middle East, from Sandstorm to Spartan Race, from Tough Mudder to Desert Warrior Challenge, and also the Government Gov Games, and quite a lot more. The podcast has interviews with athletes locally and internationally to get inside scoop on how athletes prepare for obstacle course race. In the podcast, they also talk about interesting stories on why they are motivated to do obstacle course race. And that's not all. They also plan to release 7 NFTs. And these NFTs are no ordinary. These NFTs will represent every emirate in the UAE. And listen guys, these NFTs are going to be absolutely massive. So do one thing, go to Spotify, go to iTunes, go to any leading podcasting platform and search for Rise in the Obstacle Course Race podcast. Next, Vertex Events have organized the first ever blockchain summit in the history of the World Expo on 10th to 11th of October 2021 at Dubai Expo 2022. Now they are planning to organize a 2-day blockchain summit in 2022 on the 14th and 15th of October at Grand Hyatt Dubai UAE. And Blockchain Dubai Summit is one of the most innovative and interactive summits in the Middle East. Industry leaders from the world of blockchain, digital assets will gather to discuss advantages of blockchain, crypto, DeFi, NFT, and Metaverse, a brilliant event to network with leading personalities in the space. There are a couple of packages and opportunities for sponsorship, so click on the link below to know everything about Vertex Events, and the website is vertexgroups.ae, or also drop me an email to info@blockchaindxb.com. And finally guys, not your keys, not your crypto. If you have dabbled with cryptocurrencies and now are seriously getting to protect your cryptocurrencies, there is no better way to protect it by using a hardware wallet. And this is where Ledger Wallet kicks in. And Ledger Wallets are hardware cryptocurrency wallets made by Ledger, a company headquartered in Paris, France. And Ledger's hardware wallets are multi-currency wallets that are used to store private keys for cryptocurrencies offline. And Ledger offers 2 hardware wallets, the Ledger Nano and Ledger Nano X wallets. They are world-class experts with extensive crypto security backgrounds. They continuously look for vulnerabilities in Ledger products in a constant effort to improve the level of security. Now, in today's world, securing these digital assets is a critical challenge, and this is where Ledger kicks in. So click the link below to buy your hardware wallet and support this podcast. It is a brilliant way to support this podcast. So what are you waiting for? The link is in the show notes below. Now, since we have taken care of that, the quiz that I have for today, and this is something which I did ask in the previous week as well, with reference to stable coins, who wins the war on stable coins? Will it be Tether USDT? Will it be Binance's BUSD? Will it be Circle's USDC? Or will it be central bank digital currencies? And we'll be exploring that in today's episode. Let's kickstart with the price of the cryptocurrency market. As of today, the 29th of September, the global crypto market is at $941.62 billion. And since the last 24 hours, it is up by 3.30%. The total crypto market volume over the last 24 hours is $79.39 billion. Now, since the last 24 hours, it is down by 12.49%. Now, if you look at the volume in DeFi, it is down to $4.68 billion. Now, really, guys, I'm not sure what is going on in DeFi. One question which keeps popping up in my mind is DeFi dead. The total value locked is down to $54.44 billion. And in yesterday's episode, I did actually ask what was the all-time high of the total value locked in DeFi. And the correct answer was $252 billion. And surprisingly, that was in January of this year. So from $252 billion locked in DeFi protocols, it is down to $54.44 billion. And out of that $54.44 billion, MakerDAO accounts for 13.09% of the total value locked, and $7.13 billion has been locked in the MakerDAO protocol, and DeFi accounts for 5.89% of the total crypto market 24-hour volume. The volume of stablecoins is down to $73.39 billion. And in today's episode, I'm going to be talking about some drama which is going on between Binance USD and USDC. And out of the $73.39 billion, Tether USDT accounts for $59.86 billion, and USDC accounts for $4.38 billion. And Binance USDC's volume is almost double of that of Circle's USDC and it is currently at $8.26 billion. So I'll be exploring what the drama is, and I will be exploring what the situations of our stablecoin volume and the war is concerned. Now, stablecoins do account for 92.44% of the total crypto market 24-hour volume. Now, let's quickly look at the market share, the 24-hour trading volume, and the dominance between Bitcoin and Ethereum. Bitcoin's market share is $373 billion, whereas Ethereum's market share is $163 billion. And one thing, guys, which I did talk about in yesterday's podcast as well, the market share of Bitcoin has been growing in terms of percentage in comparison to Ethereum after the Ethereum merge. So it is a bit surprising because I was under the impression that the Ethereum's market share will be gradually on an increase. Now let's look at the 24-hour trading volume of Bitcoin and Ethereum. Bitcoin's 24-hour trading volume is $48 billion and Ethereum's trading volume is $16 billion. Now the dominance of Bitcoin is 39.60% and Ethereum's dominance is 17.40%. Now let's quickly look at the price of Bitcoin, Ethereum and Binance. Bitcoin is up to $19,455 and since the last 24 hours it is up by 3.87%. Since the last 7 days it is up by 1.65%. Ethereum is currently at $1,334 and since the last 24 hours it is up by 4.31%, and since the last 7 days it is up by 3.55%. Binance Coin is at $280 and since the last 24 hours it is up by 4.25%, and since the last 7 days it is up by 4.76%. If you look at the snapshot, these numbers do look green, but the volume is ridiculously low. So guys, in today's episode, what I'm going to be talking about is stable coins. Do you guys use stable coins? And what stable coins do you actually use? In UAE, what I've been noticing since the past 6 months or so, a lot of the firms have switched from Tether USDT to USDC. But what has happened in the last 24 hours is Binance stablecoin, that is BUSD, is almost double of that of Circle USDC. 2022 has definitely not been the best year for cryptocurrencies. Unfortunately, stablecoins are proving to be a safe haven for the cryptocurrency market, and this is purely because of the price volatility. Now, there are two areas of concerns which I'm observing only in 2022, and this is to do with stablecoins. Firstly, the 24-hour volume of stablecoins is ridiculously low. If you've been looking at stablecoins, let's say in 2019 or 2020, it used to always hover well over the $100 billion mark. But this year, it's gone down to $50 billion. In certain cases, the 24-hour trading volume has even gone down to $30-odd billion. That is a scary matrix. Apart from that, the other scary matrix is that stablecoin, despite being low in volume, accounts for 90-odd% of the total crypto market 24-hour volume. So two metrics are extremely scary. The reason why I'm saying this is scary is this would only motivate central banks all over the world to transition and advertise central bank digital currencies. Now look guys, next month I do have an event on central bank digital currencies where I'm going to be explaining and exploring what is central bank digital currencies, how they act as a threat to freedom, and its use case in the metaverse as well. And in yesterday's episode, someone did actually ask if central bank digital currencies would be a threat to Bitcoin, and I did say that central bank digital currencies will not be a threat to Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies, but it would be a threat to stable coins, and that's one of the reasons why having a ridiculously low volume. And apart from that, stable coins accounting for over 90% of the cryptocurrency market is not ideal. Now listen guys, if you do follow me on LinkedIn and if you want to look at the slides on my LinkedIn profile, go to the blog that I published today on the 29th, and all this information in numbers can be found in slide number 1 and in slide number 2. If you look at Binance's volume since the last 24 hours, it is almost double of that of Circle's USDC. So what is going on? Decrypt, one of the leading online publications, has reported that Binance will no longer support its competing stablecoin, that is USDC, on its exchange. And this is massive news. Because of that, USDC's market cap has gone down by 5%, and this was immediately after the announcement. And there is an analytical firm called Nansen. What they have found out is that $26 billion worth of stablecoins was sitting on Binance's exchange. Now, out of that $26 billion, $20 billion was Binance USD, with the rest in competing stablecoins. $683 million was USDC, $48 million was USDP, and $283 million was DUSD. So the only sizable stablecoin balance on Binance was roughly $5 billion worth of Tether USDT. So looks like Binance is trying to dominate the stablecoins, and this would have a massive impact not just now when central bank digital currency kicks in. It could be possible that we might just have central bank digital currencies and we just might have Binance USD. So is Binance going to dominate the stable coins? I definitely do think so. Personally, I'm not a fan of Tether USDT. I do like Circle USDC, but looks like Binance is playing a very clever move. And one thing which I'm thinking is, Binance is a massive and huge organization. What if Binance tries to acquire Tether USDT or Bitfinex, the company that manages Tether? In that case, Binance could have a massive monopoly in stablecoins, and I wouldn't be surprised if Binance might just be bigger than Bitcoin or pretty much other cryptocurrencies combined as well. So CZ is definitely making a massive move in the cryptocurrency world. And in yesterday's podcast, guys, I also talked about Jerome Powell. He had a session and they talked about digitization of finance. And in that session, one of the guests did actually ask Jerome Powell about central bank digital currencies. And he talked about a discussion paper on FedNow, which looks like a central bank digital currency project in the US, which should be out in the next couple of years. And he did actually mention that in order for a successful CBDC, there needs to be 4 points. That is, it needs to be intermediated, privacy protected, identity verified, and transferable or interoperable. So it's going to be really interesting to see how stablecoin turns out to be. And once again, the question is, who wins the war on stablecoins? Will it be Binance BUSD, or Tether's USDT, or Circle's USDC? Or will it just be central bank digital currencies? And one question, guys, now this is something a bit technical. If you know the technology on how Bitcoin and open blockchain and privacy works, I would like you to think about it. What if central bank digital currencies were to have their codes completely open source? And one thing which I talked about, I believe in one of my episodes last week, was that Norway's central bank, what they are doing is they are trying to work on a central bank digital currencies, and they're trying to build it on Ethereum. But apart from that, even the source code, they want to make it open source. So the question is, what if central bank digital currencies do make their source code completely open, and if they implement zero knowledge proof, do we actually need any other stable coins? Now, I won't go ahead and explain what zero knowledge proof is. Essentially what it is proving something without actually proving the actual information or data. So if a central bank digital currencies were to combine open source code with zero knowledge proof, I don't think we need absolutely any stable coins. And more importantly, it also solves the whole banking the unbanked problem. Now guys, let's talk about some massive news regarding UAE and Canada. The Kevin O'Leary, who's from Canada and one of the leading hosts from Shark Tank, he did have an interview with one of the editor-in-chief from Forecast News, and he did actually mention that he planned to launch a Web3 fund with backing from UAE. In that article, he also mentioned that Kevin O'Leary has been given a citizenship or nationality of United Arab Emirates, and because of that, him starting a fund in UAE with investors from UAE will be an absolutely massive deal for cryptocurrencies, for the Web3 industry, and for Dubai and in UAE. So go to my LinkedIn profile, you can read through the entire article. And Kevin O'Leary did actually speak to the editor-in-chief Angie Liu, and this was at an event called as Converge 2022, and this event happened just yesterday. Now let's talk about some positive news regarding Crypto.com. Look guys, 2022 is, if not been, the best year for Crypto.com and Binance. Both of them have been making partnerships one after the other, and Crypto.com has received regulatory approval in France, and Crypto.com has registered as a digital asset service provider, also called as DASP. by the authorities in France, and they did that after receiving regulatory clearance from ACPR. And Crypto.com, guys, now continues to grow and expand its ecosystem. And as of now, they have more than 50 million users worldwide. So definitely brilliant and positive news for Crypto.com. Now, guys, let's look at two news from UAE. And both the news are relatively positive. And the first one is to do with CNBC. Now, CNBC's branch in Middle East called CNBC Arabia. And what CNBC's Arabia plans to do is every Tuesdays, they want to air a 15-minute session talking everything about Bitcoin, blockchain, cryptocurrencies, and Web3. So the news is that CNBC's On the Chain show showcases Dubai's cutting-edge crypto influence. So let me walk you through what the news is. So this is going to be the region's first TV show that talks about everything from decentralized finance to Web 3.0, and the show will be broadcasted on CNBC Arabia, and it is called as On the Chain. And the channel is broadcasted 24 hours a day and reaches 50 million households weekly in the Middle East and North Africa. And as the first ever show dedicated to blockchain technology on primetime traditional media, this marks a momentous occasion for the mass adoption of Web 3.0. So the CNBC's Arabia On the Chain show showcases Dubai's cutting-edge crypto influence. So absolutely massive news. And the show is sponsored by VMade. And VMade is a well-known South Korean video game developer, now with extensive roots with blockchain gaming and Web3 worlds. And the show will feature the founders of leading projects, government entities, and key influential figures in the Web3 space. And Nikita Sachdev, who's the CEO of Luna Media Corp, will be the official show host who will lead the conversation with the guests from all around the world. And the series will be broadcasted in English with Arabic subtitles and scheduled to air 3 times a week during the prime time in September. So definitely brilliant and positive news. And the show is powered by VMade, multi-billion-dollar publicly listed blockchain gaming company under the leadership of CEO Henry Chang. And VMade has expanded the business exponentially. And the collective goal of the three parties, that is CNBC Arabia, Luna Media Corp, and VMade, is to increase awareness and educate the audience about the importance of Web3 and its impact. This comes at a strategic time as Dubai consolidates its status as the world's Web3 capital thanks to progressive regulations and robust infrastructure. And the channel is broadcasted 24 hours a day and reaches 50 million households weekly in the Middle East and Africa. So guys, in each episode of the weekly show, Nikita Sachdev hosts representatives of government agencies, project and corporate founders, and top influencers to track their activity in bridging the gap between Web 2 and Web 3.0. It also seeks to educate the Arab public about the dimensions of this technological revolution that we are witnessing, and which several governments and bodies are engaged in vigorous efforts to organize and draw up the legislative frameworks. And on the website, they also have the first episode, and it is with none other than Dr. Marwal Al-Zaruni, who's the CEO of Dubai Blockchain Center. And the topic that they discuss is awareness and regulations. And this is what blockchain sector needs in the region. So definitely go ahead and check it out. So definitely a brilliant use. And the whole idea is, as long as you're educating the general people on Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, blockchain, and Web3, and the whole goal of Dubai is to be the #1 city in the world in Web3. So moves such as this is definitely positive, not just for the cryptocurrencies, but for Dubai and in UAE as well. Now let's look at the second news for today, and that is to do with a company called Chain Analysis. Chain Analysis is an American blockchain firm headquartered in New York, and they were formed in 2014. And I've listened to quite a lot of their podcasts going back to 2017 as well. Now listen guys, this company is loved by the government, but it is hated by Bitcoin maximalists and by the cryptocurrency community as well. Chain Analysis are experts to discuss blockchain risks, opportunities, and compliance. And what they will be doing is they will be having an event at GITEX Global 2022. And they're going to have a series of panel and keynote discussions, as well as several lightning talks. And Chain Analysis will use the event to raise awareness and educate attendees on some of the most pressing challenges and opportunities that cryptocurrencies, DeFi, and other Web3 technologies hold for the region. What I would recommend you to do is, guys, do your own research on Chain Analysis, and depending on what your thought process is, you can be an advocate for Chain Analysis, or you could be a detractor. To be honest, what they are doing is a forensic analysis and they're giving the information to the government. Idealistically speaking, Bitcoin was created so there is a separation between money and the state, and chain analysis surprisingly works with the government. So the massive news is that chain analysis experts are going to be discussing blockchain risks, opportunities, and compliance at GITEX Global in 2022. Now let me try to give you some information on what GITEX is. GITEX is an annual consumer computer and electronic trade show exhibition and conference that takes place in Dubai between the 10th to the 14th of October. This is, if not one of the biggest events so far as computer and electronic trade shows is concerned, and it takes place at World Trade Center. And if you do want to find out more information, go to gitex.com. That is spelled as G for George, I for India, T for Tango, E for Elephant, X for X-ray.com. And Chain Analysis will participate in 2 key panel discussions hosted by the organizers of the Future Blockchain Summit, which will take place on the sidelines of GITEX Global. So Future Blockchain Summit does take place at the same venue as well. And the entrances where you can enter Future Blockchain Summit, and then you can enter GITEX as well, as long as you have the relevant pass. So the panel discussion on evolution of virtual asset regulations will feature Amandeep Tandi, who is the Director, Crypto Regulatory and Compliance Lead for EMENA Chain Analysis. On the website, they have given very specific information on what they are speaking. So if you're planning to attend it, I would really recommend you to do is go to the website, read through the schedule, and according to the schedule, make sure you attend the right event. On the 13th of October, or that is at 1 p.m., visitors to the Chain Analysis stand will get a first-in-region opportunity to experience live demos of Chain Analysis Storyline, its Web3 native blockchain analysis tool designed to visualize smart contracts, transactions including DeFi and NFTs. And Das Lemons, who is the general manager of International Chain Analysis, has said, as a co-founder, Jonathan Levin rightly pointed out during his visit to the region earlier this year, the UAE has the opportunity to be a model for other nations when it comes to establishing a crypto hub. Since this is still a fairly nascent space, the realization of this ambition will require a major focus on regulations built on deep understanding of the underlying blockchain technology. Given the work we are doing with governments across the globe over the course of the 5 days at the GITEX Global, we will focus on educating all stakeholders from government entities and private sector organizations to everyday consumers on the fundamentals of blockchain technology. Now listen guys, if you're into KYC, if you're into AML, you definitely need to check it out. So that's all for today guys on the Crypto and Coffee at 8 on Blockchain DXB. In case if you have any feedback or suggestions, please drop me an email to info@blockchaindxb.com. You can also check out my website, that is www.blockchaindxb.com. And guys, check out my other website, that is area2071.com, that talks everything about Metaverse. And in tomorrow's episode, I'm going to be talking everything about Metaverse. And if you like listening to this, please follow this podcast, give it a 5-star rating, and share the word across. Now for the next few minutes is going to be an Ask Me Anything series, where you listeners can ask any questions regarding Bitcoin, blockchain, beyond blockchain, cryptocurrencies, NFTs, DeFi, and Metaverse. So let's kickstart with the Ask Me Anything series. Hey everyone, it's George from Blockchain DXB. You're listening to the Ask Me Anything series, where you listeners can ask any questions regarding Bitcoin, blockchain, beyond blockchain, cryptocurrencies, NFTs, DeFi, and Metaverse. And remember, Monday to Thursdays, 8 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. we have Crypto and Coffee at 8, where we cover top news and information pertaining to Bitcoin, blockchain, beyond blockchain, cryptocurrencies, NFTs, DeFi, and Metaverse. And this is followed by 2 news and information related to Dubai, UAE, and Middle East from the cryptocurrency world. What you're listening to right now is the Ask Me Anything series, where you listeners can ask any questions from the cryptocurrency world. I have a question by Raleigh who asks, when do you think cryptocurrencies would be mainstream? Now, Raleigh, depends what are you asking, in what context are you asking. If you were to ask, cryptocurrencies right now are kind of mainstream. My niece, who is 14 years old, she pretty much knows everything about cryptocurrencies. As a matter of fact, she does have a couple of Bitcoins as well. So are you talking about, mainstream in the sense people are going to transact using cryptocurrencies? If that is the question, then I do think that it might take maybe a couple of decades I wouldn't be surprised that the cryptocurrencies does become a medium of exchange, maybe by the year 2040 or 2050 as well. Because what you need to understand is that historically, money has been in existence for such a long time, and Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies is relatively a very new technology, just a little over a decade. So to answer your question, when it will be mainstream, I do think that cryptocurrencies will actually be mainstream maybe in the next couple of decades. I'm a massive advocate of Bitcoin, and there's this big question that why was Bitcoin created? Was Bitcoin created as a store of value, or was it created as a medium of exchange? And one thing which Roger Go and Kim.com always talk about is Bitcoin should be used as a medium of exchange. Now, if that thing happens, it would be really difficult for the state to go and stop using cryptocurrencies. So, there are so many different types of cryptocurrencies, Riley, right now. I believe there are well over 20,000 different types of cryptocurrencies. Now, that does pose a lot of challenges as well. Because out of this 20,000 odd cryptocurrencies, I'm pretty much sure over 90% of them are completely scams. There is absolutely no use of using these cryptocurrencies. Because there are so many different types of cryptocurrencies, it also poses a challenge. Because some of the users, they will not be knowing about cryptocurrencies. And Riley, when I go to events, and I'm surprised that people still don't know how Bitcoin actually works, and this is really scary. And I'm just looking at the number of cryptocurrencies right now. As of 29th of September, Riley, there are 21,143 different types of cryptocurrencies. Now, if you were to ask me, I do think that the world only needs Bitcoin. Anything beyond that is just not needed at all. Now, there are certain use cases of Ethereum, but the whole blockchain protocol, I still am not convinced about that. So to answer your question, when will cryptocurrencies be mainstream? I would say at least a couple of decades, and most likely by 2040 or 2050. And one thing you need to know, Raleigh, is during that time is when central bank digital currencies might be mainstream as well. So I do envision that by the year 2026, central bank digital currencies will actually be mainstream. Now, as much as we dislike it, CBDCs could be mainstream much quicker than cryptocurrencies. And one trend, which I've been observing is when Bitcoin was launched, people used to say that, Bitcoin is a scam. And then later on, maybe after a few years in 2012, people used to talk about Bitcoin as the internet of money. And that was the time when I got involved in Bitcoin. And when I used to attend sessions on Bitcoin, we used to not talk about DeFi, we used to not talk about Web 3.0. The only conversation was about cryptocurrency exchanges. How can you buy, sell, the technology about Bitcoin? But later on, in 2015 or so, the whole narrative changed that blockchain, not Bitcoin. Now, there are so many articles, especially by banking organizations, that discredited Bitcoin, and they were actually talking about blockchain, not Bitcoin, is the future. But that thing has gradually changed. And in 2017, there was this whole ICO craze, and there were so many different types of cryptocurrencies that got launched. Now, surprisingly, Riley, in 2019, all the hype was about DeFi, which has seemed to be died down today. And something which I mentioned at the beginning of today's podcast is DeFi dead? Because the total value locked in DeFi at the start of this year was $252 billion. It has gone down to $54 billion. So $200 billion from DeFi has just been completely disappeared. Right now, Riley, the biggest talk is NFTs and Metaverse, or rather, on 2020 is when the whole NFT hype started because of Meta Cohen, who purchased the famous Beeple artwork for $69 million. All of a sudden, people started to become experts in NFTs. And in 2021, when Mark Zuckerberg decided to change the name from Facebook to Meta, the whole narrative changed that Metaverse is the future. And you need to keep all these things in mind to answer your question if cryptocurrencies would be mainstream in the next couple of decades. Keeping all these things in mind, I do think most likely by 2040 is when cryptocurrencies most likely could be mainstream. But central bank digital currencies could be mainstream maybe in the next couple of years. I wouldn't be surprised in the next decade's time or so. Central bank digital currencies will be mainstream. And there's a stark difference between central bank digital currencies and Bitcoin. It does not use blockchain technology, and central bank digital currencies will still be fiat currencies. And I do have an event next month where I talk everything about central bank digital currencies, so please feel free to go ahead and attend that event. So that's all for today, guys, on the Ask Me Anything series from Blockchain DXB. In case if you have any feedback or suggestions, please drop me an email to info@blockchaindxb.com and check out my website www.blockchaindxb.com. And guys, if you like listening to this podcast, please click on the follow button, give it a 5-star rating and share the word across. And remember, Monday to Thursdays, 8 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. we have Crypto and Coffee at 8, where we cover top news and information pertaining to Bitcoin, blockchain, beyond blockchain, cryptocurrencies, NFTs, DeFi and Metaverse. And how the series of episodes in the Crypto and Coffee at 8 works is, we usually cover some top news and information pertaining to the price of cryptocurrencies, some major breaking news, occasionally short and sweet news as well, news that has an impact in the cryptocurrency world. The other two news and information is related to Dubai, UAE and Middle East in the world of Bitcoin, blockchain, beyond blockchain, cryptocurrencies, NFTs, DeFi and Metaverse. And this is followed by the Ask Me Anything series that you're listening to right now, where you listeners can ask any questions from the cryptocurrency world. Thanks so much for listening, guys, and have a great day ahead. Bye-bye.